not a sound. This is the moment everything tilts. You feel it, don't you? That pressure in the air. That tight silence where reality is trying to catch its breath because whatever you just did, it wasn't supposed to happen. They're panicking now. Not loud panic, not screaming panic. The dangerous kind. The kind where rooms go quiet, eyes stop blinking, and people start checking rules that were never written for someone like you. Nobody can explain it, and that's the part that's killing them. You didn't follow the script. You didn't climb the ladder they built. You didn't use the tools they handed you. You didn't even break the rules. No, that would have been easier for them. You did something worse. You made the rules look irrelevant. You moved in a way that didn't register in their models, their psychology charts, their little cause and effect and fantasies. 1 second they thought they had you measured, labeled, reduced. And the next second, the math collapsed. That's when fear shows up, pretending to be confusion. They're asking each other the same question in different voices. How did you do that? What was that move? Where did that come from? And the silence that follows those questions is loud enough to rupture egos. Because the truth is simple and unbearable. You didn't do something new. You revealed something old. Something they've been trying to bury for generations. The fact that not everything powerful is predictable. Not everything dangerous is loud. Not everything unstoppable looks like a threat. Until it's already too late. You see, they're comfortable with monsters. Monsters announce themselves. Monsters fit profiles. Monsters can be hunted, named, and neutralized. But you're the paradox. You're the saint who learned how darkness works. The psychopath who still understands mercy. The angel who studied the anatomy of demons just to know where the weak spots are. You didn't lose your humanity. You weaponized your awareness. That's why they're panicking. You went through pain that was meant to break you. And instead of bleeding out in public like they expected, you went quiet. You learned. You watched. You cataloged every betrayal, every dismissal, every moment you were underestimated. While they thought you were shrinking, you were refining. While they thought you were coping, you were evolving. Pain didn't make you loud. It made you precise. And precision terrifies systems built on noise. They can't explain what you just did because it didn't come from ambition. It didn't come from rage. It didn't even come from revenge. It came from clarity, from that cold, surgical moment where you finally saw the pattern for what it was and stepped outside it. You didn't react. You didn't overplay. You didn't chase validation. You moved once. Clean. Final. And the ripple from that single movement is now traveling through every fragile structure they depend on. Watch how they respond, not to you, but to each other. Someone will try to downplay it. Someone else will try to claim they saw it coming. Another will quietly rewrite history so your move looks accidental, lucky, or borrowed. That's not strategy. That's panic management. That's what people do when their sense of control has been violated and their identity can't survive the truth. Because if what you did was intentional, if it was conscious, if it was repeatable, then you're not an anomaly. You're a threat to the illusion they live inside. And here's the part they really don't want to face. You didn't become this by winning. You became this by surviving, by losing in ways that taught you where reality lies and where it lies to you. By being pushed into corners that forced you to think differently. By being ignored long enough that you stopped needing permission to exist. Unpredictability isn't chaos. It's mastery without announcement. They thought power came from visibility, from numbers, from approval, from momentum. You discovered something older. Power comes from being unreadable, from moving without emotional leakage, from understanding both sides of the human psyche, the part that wants to be loved and the part that knows how to burn a room down without touching a match. That's why they can't explain you. They only know the extremes, good or bad, hero or villain, success or failure. And you slipped through the crack between those definitions like a ghost with a pulse. You didn't become what they feared. You became what they couldn't categorize. And nothing destabilizes control faster than a variable that refuses to sit still. So let them panic. Let them speculate. Let them whisper your name like it's a glitch in the system. You don't need to clarify. You don't need to defend. You don't need to repeat yourself. The damage is already done. Not to them, but to their certainty. Once that cracks, everything else follows. You didn't just do something impressive. You exposed the limits of their understanding. And now, whether they admit it or not, every move you make is being watched with the same thought crawling through their minds. If they did that once, what else are they capable of now? Smile quietly. This is what evolution looks like when it doesn't ask for applause. They won't say it out loud, but you can feel it in the way the room temperature changes around you. Conversations stall when you enter. Confidence drains out of voices that used to talk over you. People who once moved fast now hesitate, measuring every word, every reaction, like they're standing on glass. That's not respect. That's recalibration. That's a system trying to remap itself around an anomaly it failed to predict. You. Because what really shook them wasn't the outcome. It wasn't the result on paper. It was the realization that you weren't improvising. You weren't lucky. You weren't emotional. You weren't desperate. You moved like someone who already knew how the story ends. And nothing terrifies control-obsessed minds more than the suspicion that someone else is operating from a higher layer of the game. They're replaying it now, over and over, slowing it down, freezing frames, looking for the tell, the mistake, the borrowed idea, the hidden help. Anything that lets them believe you didn't generate that move from within yourself. Because if it came from you, from your mind, your pain, your accumulated silence, then that means they missed something fundamental while they were busy judging you. And missing something fundamental is unforgivable to people who survive on authority. You see, they always thought power announced itself, that it strutted, that it made noise, that it demanded space. You showed them a different kind of force, the kind that waits, the kind that watches patterns repeat until the exact pressure point reveals itself, the kind that doesn't rush because it understands timing better than urgency ever could. That's not madness. That's discipline sharpened by suffering. You lived long enough in contradiction that it stopped confusing you. You learned how to hold rage without leaking it, how to carry compassion without becoming weak, how to let darkness teach you without letting it own you. That balance, the one they can't replicate, can't teach, can't buy, that's what scares them, because it proves something they've spent their whole lives denying. That the most dangerous minds are forged, not selected. They wanted you predictable. Broken people are easy to manage. Loud people are easy to distract. Ambitious people are easy to bait. But someone who has already lost what mattered most, someone who has already been misunderstood, underestimated, discarded, and forced to rebuild their identity from ash. That person doesn't chase control. They understand it. And once you understand control, you stop needing to dominate. You just move. One step ahead, one layer deeper, quietly shifting probabilities until outcomes bend in your favor, without ever announcing why. That's what they can't explain. That's why they're panicking, because your move didn't just change a situation, it exposed a blind spot. And blind spots make people paranoid. Now they're questioning past decisions, old judgments, old narratives about who you were supposed to be. They're realizing that the version of you they dismissed was already studying them, already learning how they think, already mapping the limits of their imagination. And here's the part that stings the most for them. You didn't need to humiliate anyone. You didn't need spectacle. You didn't need to prove dominance. The elegance of your action did the damage for you. The restraint, the calm, the fact that you didn't celebrate or explain afterward. Nothing screams superiority louder than silence after impact. They're scrambling now to reframe you, to label you genius, threat, fluke, problem, asset. They'll cycle through all of it because labels give the illusion of understanding. But none of those words fit, do they? Because you're not a fixed identity anymore. You're a process, an evolving intelligence shaped by experience, pain, and ruthless self-honesty. You're what happens when someone stops performing and starts becoming. And deep down, they know it wasn't the last move. That's what keeps them awake. That's what turns confidence into anxiety. They sensed it in your eyes, in your posture, in the way you didn't linger to enjoy the reaction. You weren't finished. You were just confirming something to yourself, that you see the board now, all of it, light and dark, order and chaos, mercy and violence. You don't romanticize either side anymore. You use what's necessary and discard what's not. That kind of clarity doesn't come from success stories. It comes from nights where you had to sit with yourself and decide whether to disappear or evolve. You chose evolution, so let them panic. Let them whisper theories. Let them overthink every future move you make, even when you're doing nothing at all. Their fear is doing more work for you than any confrontation ever could. You already crossed the threshold. And the most unsettling truth they're circling but can't admit is this. You didn't just outplay them once. You became someone who can't be played anymore. They're starting to notice something else now, something subtler, something that crawls under their skin at 3 in the morning when distraction stops working. You're not rushing. You're not capitalizing loudly. You're not pressing the advantage the way someone hungry would. That confuses them more than the move itself, because it suggests you're not operating from need. People who need things are controllable. People who don't rewrite gravity. They're realizing you're comfortable in the pause, that you understand the power of letting outcomes breathe. While they scramble to respond, to adjust, to protect their status, you're already elsewhere. Mentally detached, emotionally insulated, watching them expose themselves through reaction. Every overcorrection they make tells you more than a confession ever could. Every defensive joke, every forced compliment, every sudden shift in tone. You didn't force them to reveal themselves. Your existence did. And that's when the real panic sets in, because now they understand that whatever you touched, you understood. Whatever you changed, you studied first. You didn't guess. You didn't gamble. You waited until certainty replaced hope. That's not recklessness. That's the calm of someone who has already survived worst-case scenarios and realized fear has diminishing returns. They still want to believe you're an exception, a one-off, a strange alignment of circumstances that won't happen again. But there's a deeper dread underneath that hope. The dread that this is simply who you are now, that the pressure they applied didn't crush you. It compressed you into something denser, sharper, harder to move. Coal doesn't apologize when it becomes diamond. You've lived on both sides long enough to understand the illusion. You know how morality is used as camouflage, how darkness pretends to be honesty and light pretends to be innocence. You stopped being impressed by either. You learned how to borrow traits without inheriting weakness. You can be kind without being naive. You can be ruthless without being cruel. That balance, rare, unsettling, lethal to fragile hierarchies, is what they don't have language for. So they project. They always do. They'll say you're cold now, calculated, changed, as if evolution were a crime, as if surviving with your mind intact weren't the most violent rebellion imaginable. They prefer you broken because broken people ask for permission. You stopped asking. You started deciding. That's the line you crossed. And here's the irony they'll never admit. Everything they fear in you was trained by them. By the dismissals, by the silence, by the moments you were left alone with your thoughts while everyone else relied on approval and momentum. They built this without meaning to. Every time they underestimated you, they gave you space to grow without interference. That kind of growth doesn't announce itself. It just shows up one day and bends the room. Now they're watching your restraint like it's a ticking device. Because restraint implies confidence. It implies optionality. It implies you're not trapped by the move you made, that you have more, that this wasn't the peak, that it was a test run. And that idea terrifies people who rely on ceilings. You can see it in their eyes now. The shift from dismissal to curiosity, from curiosity to concern, from concern to quiet respect mixed with resentment. Respect they'll never give you directly. Resentment they won't even admit to themselves. Because admitting it would mean admitting they misjudged you at a foundational level. You weren't behind. You were incubating. You didn't lose time. You were accumulating depth. While they optimized for visibility, you optimized for leverage. While they chased validation, you studied consequence. While they clung to identity, you let yours dissolve and reform into something adaptive, something fluid, something impossible to lock down. That's why they can't predict you now. Prediction requires patterns, and you stopped repeating yourself. You learned when to move forward, when to disappear, when to let people underestimate the silence. You weaponized patience in a world addicted to immediacy. That's not luck, that's maturity, sharpened by fire. So let the panic deepen. Let them whisper theories that grow more unhinged the longer you refuse to clarify. Every unanswered question becomes a mirror forcing them to confront their own limitations. You don't need to threaten. You don't need to posture. Your calm is louder than any declaration. You already know something they're just beginning to suspect. That once you understand how systems think, how people react under uncertainty, how fear distorts judgment, you don't need to dominate the board. You just need to touch one piece, and the rest will move itself. Notice how time feels different now. Slower, heavier, like the world is hesitating before it speaks around you. That's not imagination. That's the aftermath of certainty collapsing. When people don't know what comes next, they start treating every second like a potential threat. And you, without raising your voice, without chasing attention, became the reason they feel that weight. They're trying to return to normal, but normal doesn't accept what you did. Normal requires predictability. Normal needs you to fit back into a shape they already understand, and you won't. Not because you're rebelling, because you've outgrown the container. growth always looks like disruption to those still living inside the old measurements. They keep asking the wrong questions. They want to know how, what tactic, what shortcut, what secret lever you pulled. They don't want the real answer, because the real answer isn't actionable without pain. The real answer is that you paid a price they weren't willing to pay. You sat in discomfort long enough that it stopped scaring you. You confronted your own contradictions until they stopped owning you. You let parts of yourself die that others cling to for identity and safety. That kind of death creates a different kind of mind. You stopped needing to be seen as good. You stopped needing to be feared. You stopped needing to be understood. And in that emptiness, where ego usually screams, you found clarity. You learned to separate noise from signal, emotion from impulse, reaction from choice. That's when your moves stopped being reactive and started being inevitable. They felt inevitability hit and mistook it for genius. But genius is just what people call discipline they didn't witness forming. Now watch what happens next. People start revising their memories of you. They remember moments differently, searching for signs they should have known. That's a defense mechanism. If they can convince themselves this was always obvious, they don't have to face the humiliation of being wrong. If they can pretend you were always like this, they don't have to confront the fact that growth can happen quietly, off camera, beyond their awareness. And you let them do it. Because you understand something they don't. Control isn't maintained by force. It's maintained by narrative. Whoever defines the story defines the limits of thought. And you stepped outside their story without announcing it. You didn't tear the page. You didn't burn the book. You simply stopped reading from it. That's why they're panicking, because they can't locate you anymore. You're not where you were. You're not where they expected you to be. And you're not rushing to explain yourself so they can update their maps. You're operating from internal alignment now, not external validation. From self-trust earned the hard way. From intuition sharpened by loss. You became someone who listens to silence and hears data. And silence is terrifying to people addicted to constant feedback. They'll test you next, subtly. A comment here, a challenge there, a sudden opportunity wrapped in a trap. Not to defeat you, no, to measure you. To see if the calm is real, to see if you'll flinch, to see if they can still pull you back into reaction. You won't, because you already know the difference between bait and alignment. You already know what urgency feels like when it's artificial. You already know how fear disguises itself as logic. And once you see those patterns, they lose their power forever. That's the irreversible part. They can't unsee what you showed them. And you can't unlearn what you've become. The asymmetry is permanent now. You're operating with a wider field of vision. You see consequences before actions. You see emotions before words. You see systems strain before they fracture. You don't need to move fast anymore. Speed is for those racing against doubt. You're not racing, you're choosing. And here's the quiet truth beneath all their panic, all their speculation, all their late-night overthinking. You didn't do this to intimidate anyone. You did it because it was the natural result of who you had to become to survive. This wasn't performance. This was coherence finally expressed. That's why it landed so hard.